Welcome back to the Ozark podcast.
This is like a fire starter.
How do you kind of scope it out?
I caught my PB, a 17-inch smallie at the time.
Zebco Cardinal 4.
Fish can't tell what you're throwing. All they see is a lure.
It's me, Kyle Veet, joined by my co-host and good buddy, Mr. Kyle Plunkett.
Yes, sir.
Plunkett, tell the people where we are.
Oh, don't do that to me. We're in
the middle of the woods.
Well, we're in the woods. Fredericksburg, right?
Close.
Not even
No.
close.
Oh, okay. He said close. He lives here.
Well, you
We're
had the
close.
berg.
We're close
there's
to Conway, Missouri.
There you go.
We're in Josephsburg.
We're in Pittsburgh.
No, we're not in that. Where are we?
Sending it back to me. Kyle, we are in Phillipsburg, Missouri.
Oh, my gosh. I was close.
And we are just down the road from the Redmond Candy Store, world famous.
Yes.
Close to Conway, Missouri.
Close to Conway, Missouri, as you have so astutely put. If you're driving on I-44 and you're coming outside of Springfield or heading towards Springfield, and you see all these billboards, these signs for a candy store, pecan logs, pecan turtles, fudge, what have you, it is to the Redmond Candy Store, which, as the crow flies, is probably less than a mile from here.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we passed it on the way in.
Yeah.
World famous, over 100,000 items. Y'all check out Redmond Candy Store.
Come on by.
Brought to you by Redmond Candy Store. No, but
Free
it's
advertising for them.
it is a world famous candy store. We're here in Phillipsburg, and we are joined by none other than the Ozarks fisherman, and that is Mr. Bobby Harrison. Bobby, thank you for coming on the Ozark podcast.
Thank you, guys. Yeah, I appreciate it.
Bobby, I've been following you for, I don't know, probably 6-8 months now on social media,
Yeah.
on my personal page, and dude, I love your style. I love how you fish. Obviously, your name's the Ozark Fisherman, so you spend a lot of time wading creeks, getting out in the Ozarks, exploring blue lines, and just chasing after smallmouth. And love what you do. I'm excited to get to actually meet you in person. It's always weird going from seeing somebody like all the time online, seeing their face, pictures, and then like meeting them in person.
Face,
it's like you have a whole rest of your body.
Yeah.
It's like I'm just used to seeing your head.
This guy's crazy.
You have a voice.
Yeah. And so it's cool to get to hang out with you. Appreciate you for inviting us up here.
Mm-hmm.
We're at your property having a little fire, and we're excited to talk with you.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell people a little bit about where we're at and kind of, I thought some of the history you shared with us was cool of actually the place that we're sitting right now that I think people would appreciate.
Yeah, we're in Phillipsburg. It's about 35 miles from Springfield. And yeah, me and my wife, it's 40 acres here in the middle of nowhere pretty much. And right here, there was apparently a Civil War camp, because I've been doing some metal detecting, and I've found Civil War bullets, just pieces of old stuff everywhere. And so right here where this fire is where I can imagine them sitting around. But in Phillipsburg, it was named after Rufus Phillips.
Okay.
And he was originally a school teacher in Lebanon. They hired him from, I believe, Pennsylvania, and he became a school teacher. Then he moved. He became a farmer, and after he became a farmer, the Civil War came around, and he was in the Confederacy. And I believe he was a general or a captain, some high-up guy.
Okay.
And he had a group of men that stayed here. And before all that, he started a mill, and they say that it was around a spring. And right down here is the only spring I know of around here. Some people say it was on the upper side by the railroad tracks.
Yeah.
There's no spring up there. So me and my wife, we think that this is where he hung out with his Confederate army because of the Civil War bullets we found. And
this spring is, as we're talking, it's 15 yards that way.
Yeah. Yeah, there's 2 or 3 little places it comes up out of the ground. And down below, I have to research more and kind of investigate, metal detect. But I think that's where his mill is right down here.
No way.
And anyways, he got in a battle and went to Springfield, Missouri, and they lost. The Union whooped them, and he came back to hide with his guys, and they ended up arresting him. He goes to St. Louis in prison, and then he comes back, and then the war ends, of course, and he becomes he's a high up individual in Phillipsburg. They named the town after him,
After
Rufus Phillips.
Phillips.
Yeah, and now, man, Phillipsburg, it's actually a village. There's like 202 people. Now there's 207 with my family, I guess.
Okay.
But yeah, it's
It's a growing town.
Yeah, it's growing. But it used to have a big downtown, but I guess it all burned in the 80s. But it was a really neat place way back. And so here we are out in the middle of the woods. And
Man, some history here.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
It's what made you want to start like doing the metal detecting? I'm curious because were you just like I'm just going to do this, or did someone kind of tell you like, hey, there may be some history around there? Because to go, and I don't know if y'all can see this in the camera. This is what he's talking about, these Civil War bullets. And you said, I mean, this is a big slug right here.
I don't know what caliber. It's over 60. You know, it might be 80. It's huge.
It's a chunk of lead.
Yeah.
So what made you want to start like metal detecting down here?
Well, I've always heard, back in the Civil War, they didn't have, the water source was the springs. So they would always camp out beside the springs. So did Indians. You can find arrowheads around springs. But I didn't even know I would find something, to be honest. And the first one I found, I about freaked out because I found it and I started doing some more. And actually, the only place I haven't done any up there, I haven't done any hardly down there. But right where we're sitting is where I've found them.
Okay.
But it gives off a big signal with that lead. And I just did it by chance, kind of had a metal detector and thought, I'm going to go metal detecting.
Man.
Yeah.
That is so cool.
I feel like the simple equation of he was by a spring.
Yeah.
This is the only spring.
Yeah.
That I know of.
Yeah.
And he ran this army, and there's army things here.
Yeah.
Makes a pretty good case.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
This
absolutely.
was his spot.
I'm thinking,
Yeah.
Phillipsburg, Rufus Phillips, this is his place,
That
so
is cool.
Yeah.
I buy it.
So that
man.
makes you the mayor of the town.
I think you're
automatically,
basically
right?
the
I
mayor
hope. Yeah, that's my goal. The mayor of the village.
So wait, you keep saying village. It's
Yeah.
like classified as a village.
Yeah, I guess because it's under a certain amount. I don't know if it's 500 or what. But
Oh,
it's considered
really?
a village.
No way.
Yeah. So
That's a fun fact.
I've never lived in a village before, but now I do.
Now you do.
Yeah.
Yeah. You got kids. It takes a village.
Yeah,
That whole thing.
that's
like,
right.
You're living it, man.
That's right.
It's awesome.
I love it. That's cool. Man, I love hearing some old history like that, especially like connecting it to like I've actually found artifacts on this piece of land that we're now sitting on.
Yeah.
You can kind of tell the story behind it.
Yeah, we found some arrowheads too. My wife has found some. But this whole place, man, apparently down the road there's a cave, and they used to pump the water from that cave. So in the cave there's water, and they would pump it up to the city way back, but they cut that out. And I would love to go explore that cave.
Yeah.
And do some metal detecting around that too. Yeah.
Well, cool. Well, we're excited to get to hang out with you. I know that you love fishing. I know that you love the Ozarks.
Yeah.
Tell me just a little bit about yourself.
Yeah. I've lived in the Ozarks my whole life in Lebanon.
Okay.
And
Has your family always lived in the Ozarks too?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you know how far back?
On one side of the family, we came from Germany way back. And then my other side, I'm not 100% sure. So probably not here for, way back.
Sure.
But yeah, I love history. I used to hate history. In school, I hated it. But now it's my favorite. I love learning history. But yeah, I've lived here my whole life. And as far as like getting into fishing, my grandfather, which he passed away a while back, he used to fish all the time. I have pictures of him from like the 40s or so. He was in World War II, and pictures of him fishing. And when I was a teenager, he would take me fishing all the time. He was a big fly fisherman, and that's something I'm just kind of getting into now.
I saw that you started picking it up not too long ago.
Yeah, it's a blast. It's something. It's a whole different art, isn't it?
It'll hook. It'll suck you in, man.
Yeah.
Be careful.
Yeah. Yeah, but he's the one that basically got me into fishing. Then my dad, he's not a huge fisherman. He's fished, a few times. He's more of a trout fisherman. But yeah, my grandpa, and then just sticking with it. And really, I've fished my whole life. But really getting into it, like really into it, like maybe 6 to 8 years ago, and more now.
Yeah.
But the last 4 or 5 years for sure,
And you kind of hone in on some specific stuff. I know you like kind of the old timey classic vintage tackle and equipment. Talk to me a little bit about that. I don't really know like old style, the brands, kind of where you even go about procuring that stuff. What is it about the vintage tackle that you really like?
You know, I think one reason why I like vintage is because of my grandpa.
Okay.
And I found my dad has a shop, and that's where we work, but it's just full of stuff, antiques and cabinet stuff too, build cabinets there. And I found one of his old fishing reels, and it was an old Johnson. I actually have it over there, the same one I found.
Kyle, do you mind running over there and getting that real quick?
Yeah, I can move it.
You can pull it over here, and we can spin through some of them. I want to look at them.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. And I found that in the shop, and I talked to my dad. He said, yeah, keep that. And what really made me get into it is I took that same rod out. A lot of people say, no, don't use it, hang it up. I restrung it. I got, I think I was using a Topwater Whopper Plopper, which is still one of my favorites. Like, you can't go wrong with that thing.
You can't beat it, man.
For smallies. But, I think it was this reel right here. And I fished a lot, but when I took this out the first time, I threw a Whopper Plopper and I caught my PB, and it was like a 17-inch smallie at the time.
All right.
And to me, I was like, man, this is like a fire starter
on
vintage and smallies for one. But yeah, this right here, it's a vintage Johnson Sabra is what I don't know how you say that, but Sabra is what I call it.
Okay.
But yeah, that right there. And that was his reel and rod. It's kind of just a simple bass rod.
Do you know like when this would have been made or anything like that?
You know, I'm not for sure on the year, but I'm thinking that might have been late 60s, early 70s.
Okay.
And then, you know, I have Johnsons are my favorite. The green, they're just a simple green. They all look the same. They're a Century, Johnson Century 100B is the model. That's got a sleeper gill on it. But yeah, just the way they're made, they're simple as can be. They're not complex. You can take them apart, work on them. You can find parts on eBay. You just push the button, cast.
Yeah.
Simple.
Yeah, it's the old school style.
I'm a simple guy, I guess.
This is how I grew up doing it. Not with this cool, actually, of a reel and rod. It was like the old Zebcos.
Yeah.
That you just push the button.
Oh, yeah, Zebco 33.
Yeah, and just throw it out there, rip a crawdad back in towards you.
Yeah. Yeah, those Zebcos probably have caught more fish than any other combined.
I think so.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah, these are sweet, man.
Yeah.
I'll never forget. We went to Minnesota with a guide to fish the Boundary Waters.
Yeah.
I think I was in college. Had my little sister and little brother and mom and dad. We were all fishing the fancy stuff. I had the fly rod. My mom fished a Zebco with a worm.
Oh, yeah.
And outfished us
That's
the whole trip.
That's just how it goes.
It's like
Mom outfishing
all the
you,
dudes with all their stuff, and she's in the guide's canoe, but it was still like, I'm just gonna drop the worm over the side. She's catching huge fish.
Push a button.
This is ridiculous.
Throw it out.
Yeah.
Reel it in.
So they work.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I love the feel of them too. It's like they're actually. I feel like that's a difference in some of the stuff like that's made today versus made then.
Yeah.
It just feels like that's gonna last forever. The weight of it does feel substantial. It's got a little bit more of a grip to it.
This is an Abu Garcia. And Abu Garcia, man, they make some good quality stuff. But I think it was made, I can't remember if it was Sweden. I believe it is. But that thing, these will cast a mile too.
Really?
I mean, yeah, they'll just sell. But yeah, that's one of my favorites, Abu Garcia, the Johnsons. I have an old Zebco 33 down here too. And it's I think that's from the 80s.
Okay.
So
yeah.
But this one, this is a Zebco Cardinal spinning rod. That thing, if you can ever find one, buy it. It's one of the smoothest, best made reel spinning rods that I've ever had.
Really?
Even comparable to the new stuff. And that will cast. That's my farthest casting reel out of my new stuff and my older stuff.
Zebco Cardinal 4.
Yeah.
Wow, it's even got like an emblem. Like what do you call that? It's like a family
like a
crest
sail?
looking
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah, it's super
fancy.
smooth. Sometime if you guys ever want to, if we can work it out, we gotta go fishing, try some of this old stuff.
Dude, I'd love to. Yeah, we've gotten. I grew up doing Zebcos. got into spin fishing, and then
Yeah.
at some point I just kind of switched over completely to fly fishing.
Yeah.
Which is why really we wanted to come up here and talk to you too. Is like, man, there's a lot of people who we talk fly fishing a lot, but there's a lot of people who maybe listen who don't fly fish and maybe a little intimidating, but they
Yeah.
want to get out and go catch smallmouth. And so
Yeah.
wanted to spend some time with you and talk traditional tackle
Yeah.
of how you can get out and go target these fish, smallmouth, sunfish, Ozark
Yeah.
bass, whatever it is, largemouth.
Yeah. Yeah.
We got lots of diversity of fish to go chase.
Yeah.
And it'd be a shame to spend your whole summer inside. So,
Oh man.
The
Yeah.
beauty of an episode like this too is this is accessible even if all you have is your dad's or granddad's old stuff.
yeah.
And it's like, well, I need all the fancy stuff to go catch a fish. It's like,
Yeah.
no, you don't. Just use what you got and go do it. And
Yeah.
so,
Yeah, I
that's why
always
I get
think-
excited about that.
The fish can't tell what you're throwing.
Yeah.
All they see is a lure. There's a line. It doesn't matter what you have. Just go out and try.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, they don't care about the brand name, what company made it, how much it
that's,
costs.
That's us.
That's us. Yeah. Well, cool, man. I like that you kind of have your niche with the vintage stuff.
Yeah.
I like seeing it. It's unique. It's different. So for you, your style, you do the vintage stuff. You like the old equipment, but for actually your philosophy on finding fish and getting out and fishing in the Ozarks, what do you gravitate towards? What do you like doing?
Yeah, man. Creek walking is my number one favorite thing. Rivers are great. I love river fishing. The smaller the stream, the better. For smallmouth, I love finding a big smallmouth on a small stream.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like to be out in the middle of nowhere, farthest from society as I can be.
Yeah.
It's just, there's a lot of freedom out there and a lot of time to think and peace and get to enjoy creation, and just be out there. And it's just beautiful. I love it. And, but yeah, getting out and finding places that most people won't be willing to go. You got to go a little farther sometimes to catch more fish.
Mm-hmm.
Not always the case. I've caught some big fish at boat ramps too.
Right at the ranch.
Yeah.
What for you? You mentioned catching a big smallmouth in a small creek. What about that tickles your fancy? Why does it matter to you if you could catch a 17-inch, 18-inch smallmouth in a river or a creek? Sounds like you'd pick the creek. Why?
Yeah, just every time I go, you're not guaranteed anything. A lot of times I'll catch 6 to 12-inch little dink smallmouth, and to me, I'm still happy.
Mm-hmm.
But when you get that one, man, it changes it, and I have to slow down a lot of times because I just rush and see how far I can get. But to slow down and enjoy that big smallmouth you caught, to see this fish has been around a long time.
Yeah.
And it's survived floods, it's survived people, animals, muskrats and otters, all that stuff. But yeah, those big smallmouth on a small creek, sometimes you wonder, how did you get in here?
Mm-hmm.
Like, where are you from? Where did you come from? So sometimes it just surprises you.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Especially, when most of 90% you're pulling out those little dinks, you're like, man, how
Yeah.
did a big one get this big?
Yeah.
It doesn't even make sense.
Yeah.
So you're going out as far as you can. For you, do you like revisiting the same creeks a lot, or do you try to find new places a lot?
Yeah, most of the time, there's a bet. Most of the time, I don't have a lot of time because I have 3 girls now. I'm married. I'm running a business, so my time is limited. So locally, I usually hit the same places.
Sure.
I spread it out. I don't hit the same one, 3 times in a row. I'll just go every other time. I'll go to one. But yeah, I like to find places I've never been, and there's so many streams in the Ozarks.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I'll ever be able to hit them all. I don't think so.
Yeah.
And
It'd have to be a full-time thing.
man, I just keep finding new places, and you do research online, talk to your friends, and just look those apps online like on X Hunt and all those. That's how you can find a lot of them.
Yeah.
You just go. I like to see where a river will hit a lake, because a lot of times those fish will come up those streams and rivers and glazes, and that's one of my favorite places, is a little stream that comes out of Lake the Ozarks.
Mm-hmm.
And in the wintertime, it's dead, water's low. But when it's kind of a rainy season, most of those fish will come up in the spring and spawn and do all that and stay there until winter. And not a lot of people know that. And you can go down there and just slay them. I mean, it's a blast.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So for you, you're using, you're looking online, you're kind of, and that they call it blue lining. Like people, when they go out and they find these small little streams, it's called blue lining. It's because they're looking on a map,
Yeah.
they're finding a blue line.
Yeah.
They're like, hey, looks like I could maybe get to that spot.
Yeah.
There's a bridge here, or
Yeah.
there's this spot I can park here, and I can walk a long ways up the creek.
Yeah.
So once you find a spot, say you're scouting out a new place, and you kind of find a spot, you get out, you look at it. How do you know whether or not you're gonna like stay and fish that? I mean, do you decide pretty quick of like, oh, I think this water's gonna hold some fish in here,
Yeah.
or you're like, this is probably a seasonal creek. I'm not really gonna spend a lot of time here. How do you kind of scope it out?
Man, most places that I go to, there's a boat ramp, of course. And the first thing I look at, how many people are down there? Like if there's a ton of people and floaters, you can still catch fish, but I try to avoid those places because when I wade fish, you got to be careful. You can't go trespassing when you're walking. But most of those places I go are conservation. So I will go, if I'm at a boat ramp, I go upstream because most of those kayakers and canoes, they don't go up. They'll go down. So less pressure, more fish. The water's not disturbed. If there is people coming, it's going to be later in the day.
Yeah.
So morning time, I like to go early morning. And if you can help it, morning's the best I've found out for smallmouth and late. But yeah, I usually go up. I don't like a deep area. I like to be able to just wade about waist deep. I mean, there's some holes deeper than that.
Sure.
Yeah, if you can find a little stream with deep holes to wade, that's perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of that mix of some shallow, some gravel, some rapids here, some deep pools here.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't like still water too much. I rather the more flow, the better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that flow puts the oxygen in the water, which a lot of the times you'll find those smallmouth kind of huddled around in different positions underneath that oxygen below rapid to get some fresh H2O.
When you're using some vintage lures too, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't use a lot of them, but yeah, it's usually I just try to challenge myself. Like I'm going to fish only this old lure, and if I catch a fish, that's awesome.
So as you approach maybe a small stretch and it's flowing, there's some oxygen, it's not a deep stagnant hole, that kind of thing. Let's say it's early in the morning. What's your approach to try and catch a fish out of that water first thing?
Man, I love topwater, and I probably throw it more than anything. And I know a lot of people don't throw it as much. But yeah, topwater early is always great. But I look for those riffles. Usually above it is great if it's shallow because they'll hang up there and just swim looking for bait coming down that little part that's fast moving.
Yep.
And then right below it, if there's a deep hole below those riffles and there's bubbles, it's usually blue, darker color. Those hold some big smallmouth usually.
Okay.
So when I fish, that's what I'm looking for. And yeah, topwater first. And I like to challenge myself with new stuff, but it gets really easy to throw the same thing if it's effective.
Yeah, if it's working.
Everyone gives this Ned rig a big, you shouldn't use a Ned rig.
It's too easy.
Yeah,
it's
and I throw that. I'm guilty of throwing that a lot.
Yeah,
but it catches fish.
Right.
If you're ever in a slump, throw a Ned rig.
Sure.
And you don't have to throw a $200 glide bait to catch fish. You can. That's on you. And if I did, I would, get it snagged first cast. And I've done that. But, I like to try just everything. I have an arsenal in my tackle box, and I try everything. And if something's working, I'll stick with it. And then sometimes if something is working, I just keep going. I'll try something else, see if that helps. Little spinners, topwater, it's everything.
To me, when I follow you, right, and it looks to me like you fish every single day of the week, and I'm like, this dude is just getting after it. I love how much you fish. Say you're getting out, I don't know, call it 3-4 times a week. will you do the same thing day to day today, or do you really try to understand like the variables of like, all right, well, we had a rain last night, so
Yeah.
what am I going to do a little bit different today? I'm going to a different spot. How do those factor into your decisions?
Yeah. Yeah, I had somebody say, "Do you even work, or do you just fish only?" It's like, man, I wish I could fish only. Maybe someday.
I'm like, this guy is just living the life
Yeah,
up there, man.
yeah.
I got to move to Phillipsburg.
Hey, come on over. Yeah. Yeah, it depends on the weather's a big deal. And we've had a lot of rain this spring was we've had the most rains I can remember ever. So the rivers have been flooded like crazy. So I've been hitting rock quarries and ponds and stuff, which I don't like to admit that, but the rivers have been up and creeks. But yeah, the rain does affect it. I like it when it's a little high, but the water's just barely murky. That's when you can catch some good smallies. When it's muddy, chocolate brown, I avoid it.
Yeah.
Some
Yeah.
people like, oh, you can go there and they're on the bank. It's tough.
Yeah,
and
it's real tough.
Time's valuable too when when you have a lot to do. But yeah, weather, the pressure, temperature has a lot to do with it. In the summer, you can catch some giants in the summer, and most of them are early, and most of them are right at the last hour. But you'll be surprised. You'll find some big ones in those shallow waters that'll hit midday too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you kind of start with top water just because you enjoy it,
Yeah.
and the top water bite starts earlier.
Yeah.
And then throughout the morning, you'll start. If you're not hitting on top water, do you work your way like down in the water column and you go to
Yeah.
like mid and then bottom, or what's your process
Yeah.
from there if top's just kind of striking out?
I'm guilty of carrying so many poles when I go, like minimum 4 poles.
No way.
So yeah, and I had a backpack. I need to get a new setup, but I would wade fish, have one in my hand and 3 on the back. And my buddy had an awesome setup, Monroe. I don't know if you follow him on there. But anyways, I would take 4 poles. Usually take 4. Each one's tied on something different. I have a top water. I'll have something like this gill sleeper, which you can fish the bottom.
He looks like a sculpin to me.
Yeah, it's a model sculpin.
Okay.
And they make I said gill sleeper, didn't I? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a dark sleeper, actually. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there's a gill and in the dark. But that, the Ned rig, like I said, is a killer. Spinners always do good. So usually I'll top water, I'll do a spinner, and then these 2 bottom fish.
Okay.
And one of them's going to catch something,
And do you take 4 different rods because you just don't want to tie on a different lure onto the one rod that you have, or why do you carry so many?
I've seen people ask me that, like at the boat ramps. Man, he's got a lot of poles. I just like, it saves time, and which a lot of times, like I said, I need to slow down. But I just like having it handy. That way, if I'm at, say, a hole, I will throw everything in that hole.
Okay.
I will throw a top water for, 20, 30 casts. If nothing hits that, I grab my other pole, try it out. And each pole's different, so I love trying, each one. But yeah, each different pole is set up for something.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're kind of using like a Bassmaster tactic
Yeah.
from a boat, but on the bank.
Yeah.
I kind of like it.
Yeah.
I mean,
I do too.
you'll see those guys out there, and there's like a brush pile off a point or something, and it's
Yeah.
this one a couple times. Nope, next one. Just pick it up. And,
Yeah.
you see them stacked all across the deck of their boat,
Yeah.
and it's just next thing, next thing,
Yeah.
next thing. Your approach to that, similarly, here's a hole. It's good structure, good water, good whatever. Top water, that didn't hit. All right, next thing. Rather than standing there and even if it's a minute,
Yeah.
pulling out your bag, opening the box, grabbing the lure,
Yeah.
tying it on, clipping the knot,
Yeah.
all the stuff.
Yeah.
It's just I'm grabbing the next one and we're going in. I
Yeah.
think it's awesome.
I like
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
So how do you carry everything? Because I feel like I'd just be a mess dropping stuff. I'd be putting poles down, and then I'm like walking away. I'm like, I got to go back and get those
Yeah.
poles. What's the most efficient way to carry 4 poles?
Well, what we did, and my friend actually made it, but I made a different style. I had a waterproof backpack, and on the back, I took some PVC pipe, and anybody can do this. And you just, I zip tied them together, put them on my bag. You make it about a foot long, put your rod end in there, and you can walk while you're carrying one. So while you're waiting, you fish. And then if that doesn't work, you can either set your bag down or just grab it like a arrow.
Like
you
an
know?
arrow.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
Robin Hood.
Yeah, your arsenal there. And but yeah, it's sometimes tough. Sometimes I'll set my bag down, walk a strip, come back, throw something else can come back. Um, it's a workout, man. You take your poles. Usually I take a thermos of coffee, all your lures. Sometimes you take my pistol for bears, of course, or something. But yeah, it's a heavy backpack. So by the time you're done wading all day, you're pretty much worn out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good workout.
That is a good workout. And how much time do you allow yourself to go really, like, I feel like I have fished this creek pretty well, thoroughly. I've explored it. I've gone up and down. Like, how much time do you allow yourself to explore a good section of river or creek?
I always want to go farther. And there's always another bend. There's always one more cast, But usually it's just based on how much time I have. But at some of these spots, I know where there's going to be fish or where I've caught some. There's places I go and I've never caught a fish in this hole, so I won't hardly spend any time there. But where I know based on, like, I guess, experience and seeing where the big ones come from, I will spend a lot more time there, even if it's 10 minutes or 20 minutes, and then walk another quarter mile, hit another stream or riffles, and then stay there 10, 15 minutes and then keep going. And it's kind of just hit and miss on time.
Yeah. Are you mostly, like you're saying, we talked about you're fishing top of riffles and bottom of riffles. Are you going from riffle to riffle, or what are some of the other features that you look for in the water or on the bank or things like that?
Yeah, any log jam. I usually throw something underwater on a log jam. Those Ned rigs, man, you just throw a Ned rig or these dark sleepers here, drop it down, let it sit to the bottom. A lot of times, if there's a log jam, almost every cast you'll get a nibble or a little dink fish. Not every time, but smallmouth, largemouth, anything will eat that Ned rig for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, log jams, the riffles, like I said, above them. I love fishing those. Trout really like above the riffles too, it seems like.
Yeah.
That's mainly where I catch a lot of fish is above them.
Okay.
Right in that calm, smooth glass right above the riffles.
Right where it kind of funnels down a little bit.
Yeah, yeah. And usually the water's not too deep. It's a foot to 2 feet deep, maybe 3. And you wouldn't expect them there. And you think you could see those fish even with the glasses on. You can't see them, and they'll just come out of nowhere. But yeah, those are my favorite places to fish.
I feel like they hide in those riffles. They have to know that there's some cover.
Yeah.
Even just with the water above them moving.
Yeah, the disturbance
and
of
then
the
they
surface.
just move up just enough.
Yeah.
Just to eat them. I see trout do that, where it's like you're in the riffle, but you're moving forward to eat stuff.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's got to be a safety mechanism for them, or it's a tactic. It's like we don't know why fish do what they do.
Yeah.
But it's the food conveyor belt kind of deal.
Brings
Bubbles
it
coming
right
down,
to
it's
'em.
coming right to them. But
Yeah.
man, that's fun.
When you're looking at the water and you're kind of like trying to think about where fish are, do you put yourself like and you're fishing that lure, do you put yourself in the fish's perspective and think through like visually the imagery of like what they're seeing? Do you try to kind of play the theater of like, I'm going to twitch this? I mean, the tactics of when you're actually reeling in your lure, how much do you play it up or play it down? Or are you pretty much just like, throw it out there, bring it in, they're going to hit it eventually?
Sometimes I'm like that. I just throw and don't even think about it. But yeah, sometimes you got to think about if I'm a little bug at the bottom of this water and I want to look as real as I can, because that's what we're doing. We're tricking the fish. They're hungry. They want to eat this lure. So you got to trick them. They're pretty smart. They're, those smallmouth, the big ones especially, and trout, they are so smart.
Yeah.
And if they'll spook easy. If you hook one, usually you won't get another chance, or But yeah, I just throw. I usually don't think about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, you got to almost to kind of play out what a real bug would do, or whatever.
Yeah. Heck yeah, man.
Yeah.
You make me want to go hit the water soon.
Let's go.
I just had a bug land on my mouth.
I heard that.
On my tongue.
Directly in the ears.
It went like straight to lip to tongue. He was just going for a ride.
I've got a question for you.
Yeah.
Do you take your daughters fishing?
Yeah. I I would like to take them a lot more. My oldest is 9, and she loves it. And she asked the other day, when are we going to go fishing? But a lot of times I'll take them to ponds because it's easy to watch them. The rivers, we went camping the other day, and my daughters were playing in this calm area. My youngest, she's 4, she had a life jacket on. Well, to the left of it was these real fast current, and I'm not too far away, maybe 50 feet. Well, anyway, she's 4, so she started floating for fun and didn't realize that current was there. I had to run full blast and grab her before she went down these trees.
Oh, no.
So you got to be really careful with your kids at the river. That's the only danger is, kids at the river, but they love it. My daughters love it. Took them to a quarry to go bluegill fishing. The worm and bobber, cricket and bobber. They love that.
Oh, yeah.
And
It's as vintage as it gets.
yeah, it's
Cricket and the bobber.
it's a blast. Yeah,
Yeah, it's awesome.
That's cool. So recently I saw you picked up a fly rod,
yeah.
and you like you said, you didn't really grow up fly fishing or anything like that.
No.
It's kind of a new thing you've been doing. What made you
Yeah.
want to pick one up?
Well, my grandfather, he used to fly fish all the time. And in that shop, I told you, just full of stuff. The other day, I actually found his fly rod. I haven't dug it out yet. So when I get it, I'll show you guys. But my brother-in-law, it's kind of funny. He didn't fish at all. And I started fishing kind of this way, traditional. And he had never fished much at all. Well, I gave him a fly rod. I had a Martin. And I said, hey, you should try out fishing. It's a blast. It gives you peace. It's a good way to relax and, just get out there and enjoy nature. And so I gave him my old Martin fly rod. I had never used it. And he took it out. He fell in love with fly fishing.
Really?
And to me, he's like, I wouldn't call him a professional, but, I would almost call him a professional. He's been catching these giants and rainbows and browns, and he knows a lot of the techniques. And I know you guys do too. But he actually gave me this right here.
That's special.
And it's a vintage fly setup.
Of course it is.
Yeah.
If Bobby Harrison's gonna fish it,
Yes.
it's got to be vintage.
And I can't even remember the name of that one.
This is a Fluger
okay.
Medalist.
Okay. And
And that's the reel, and then
Yeah.
the rod.
the rod's a newer one he gave.
It is a Reddington. What does this say? Field kit.
Yeah.
Is this I can't see here. A 9-foot 5 weight.
I believe it is a 5-weight.
It is a 5 weight. I think it's a 9-foot 5. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, man, fly fishing, and I'm like so green to this. And you hear people always making fun of fly fishermen and fly fishermen, battle.
Oh yeah.
But man, fly fishing is so fun, and I'm learning it. I don't know. I couldn't tell you all the names, the terms, the lures. That's something you guys might have to teach me
Flies.
soon.
Yeah, man, we'll take you. Yeah, flies. Start with that.
Yeah. I've caught maybe, I've caught the rainbows. I've never caught a brown on it. I've never caught a smallmouth. I took it out and caught bluegill, the green sunfish. I caught a rock bass the other day.
There you
My
go.
last post.
Yeah.
So I'm really new to it, and I love it. Man, it's good.
Heck yeah, man.
Yeah.
It's fun. It will suck you in. It is something that it's like you try it. Because I grew up doing traditional tackle,
Yeah.
got into fly fishing. And it's one of those things. It's like, and I know we were talking before we started recording, bow hunting.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, I feel like rifle hunting is traditional tackle and bow hunting is fly fishing. It just creates a little bit of different kind of finesse
Yeah.
challenge to it.
Yeah.
It makes you think and like approach things a little bit different way.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, just that a little bit of extra challenge, like
Yeah.
to me, it just is like I would rather catch maybe even if it's less fish, like on a fly
Yeah.
rod. Maybe it's 2 fish, and I could have caught 4 on a traditional tackle spin rod.
Yeah.
But it's like it's just kind of scratches that itch for me. But there are situations where I very much realize like I need a traditional tackle right here.
Yeah.
Like this situation, it's a tight canopy. I don't have a lot of room for a back cast.
Yeah.
It's just real skinny water that it's like I should really be fishing a spin rod here,
Yeah.
even
Yeah.
as much as I maybe want to do a fly rod.
Yeah. Yeah. I went camping this last weekend. is in the middle of nowhere on the Osage Fork of the Gasconade, and that's a river I fish a lot. But we went camping, and there was probably 3 or 4 different people, bunch of us church people, group of us from church, and they were all fishing, traditional. I told them I'm only fly fishing. They were catching smallies left and right, and I caught the one rock bass. I thought, man, this is going to be tough for a little bit, but the reward is, that's awesome to catch it on the fly.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Did you happen to see the stuff that we were posting a couple weeks ago about rock bass versus Ozark bass?
Yeah.
So to anyone who's listening up here in Missouri, the clip we posted, we said it on our last episode. We had said, the guest we had on said that you can only find them in Northwest Arkansas. That is not true.
Yeah.
We have learned, and we want to apologize to all of our good Missouri people. Don't hate us. There are Ozark bass in Missouri, absolutely. Yeah. But they are an endemic fish to the Ozarks, and a lot of people confuse them with rock bass. They are closely related. They actually share the same genus, but they actually are different species within the same genus.
Yeah.
And it's just it's so cool just to have a unique fish that you can really only find here. And, other people in different parts of the country, they see it and they're like, oh, y'all aren't special. The Ozarks aren't special. Like, we've got that fish up here. And then they I'm like, okay, send the picture.
Yeah.
And they send the picture, and it's a rock bass. And I'm like, no fault to you. Like, you don't know. Yeah. They look similar, but like, no, you don't have the Ozark bass. That's us. That's us.
For years, I didn't even know that, and it's probably only been 5 years ago since I didn't know that, and I caught, down on one of those little streams that hit Lake of the Ozarks, I caught a shadow bass. And it was the most patterned, beautiful thing I've ever seen. I thought, this is different. Mm-hmm. So I reached out to a guy out of state. He said, yeah, that's a shadow bass. And so I caught the shadow bass. I've always, the rock bass is pretty common.
Right.
And then the Ozark bass, I caught them maybe only 2 years ago. One of my friends took me up around Ozark, Missouri.
Okay.
And that's where I caught my first Ozark bass.
Okay.
And they have the speckles.
That's right.
And that's
constellation.
Yeah, they're pretty. Man, they're total different. Red eyes, But I've only caught them up towards Arkansas. But that's the only place I've caught them is down south there.
Yeah.
But the shadow, I've caught them, here a lot.
Yeah. And they're all fairly similar looking. They all have a lot of they share a lot of the same qualities. And there's actually one more too. There's a Roanoke bass.
Okay, yeah.
And I would assume, just based on the name, it's probably up near Virginia or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't even know if we have those here in the Ozarks. Someone may tell me that we do, but they're all relatively similar. And if you don't know, you're like, oh well, we have that fish here.
Yeah. There's the battle online. I've posted that too, or talked about it.
Yeah.
So, that's just a goggle eye rock bass.
Yeah.
Which they're all goggle eye, right?
They are. Yeah. Colloquially, people just call them that.
Yeah,
so you're like, yeah, you're right, but it is a little bit different.
That's like a mule deer and a whitetail.
Yeah.
I was like, well, it's just a deer. Yes.
You're like, yeah,
technically.
And there's axis deer. And
yeah.
But they're deer.
But they're different species.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's cool, man. Those are such a great place. We've got so many unique species and subspecies of not just animals but plants too.
Yeah,
little ecosystems that only exist here just because of our geography, our geology, the karst rock structures that we have here, and the creeks and the way that they move through.
Yeah,
it's an awesome place to live and to get out and go. Get to put your hand in the creek and catch a fish and pull it out and look at it and be like, man, this is only found here. Like, this is a part of this place. It's part of the culture. It's part of the history. Like, this over time got formed because of whatever reason. It split off in some hybrid way. Yeah. But it's just special.
Yeah. Yeah, there's this whole area. Me and my wife's been trying to learn different plants, and we've counted, I don't know how many different kinds of berries. Right over here, there's pawpaw trees, which they usually grow by a river. Mm-hmm. They're growing by the spring. Have you ever ate a pawpaw?
I haven't. No, I've heard of them, but I haven't ever eaten one.
I call it the Ozark banana, but it tastes like a banana mixed with a mango is what I thought.
Really?
And it was delicious. And there's probably 10 over here growing that I've seen. So they don't grow a lot, but not every tree has them. But they taste delicious. And we've been getting, all kinds of. I told you about the mushrooms. The Ozarks has so many different varieties of species. I'm learning so much.
Yeah.
I wish I could learn it all.
Just wish I had more time.
Yeah.
To like go out and explore it all and
Yeah.
look at it, take pictures of it, write it all down.
Yeah.
There's some cool stuff, man. Well, I want to ask you one last thing. We're rapidly losing light. If you're watching on YouTube, you may not be able to see us at this
If
point.
you're watching on YouTube, you're not
Stoke that
watching anymore.
fire.
You're like, I'm just gonna go watch
You're looking at a dark screen.
the audio version.
Where'd they go?
We lost our campfire light too.
We did.
That prolonged it for a second.
Our ambiance. But yeah, we're losing light. We're gonna start wrapping up here. I want to ask you this: if you could pick your ideal day on the water,
Yeah.
start to finish, what would you map out your day to look like as far as what you're catching, what you're taking, how you're spending your time on the river, things like that?
Yeah. I would probably chase smallmouth, either that or brown trout, but around me, probably more the smallmouth. And yeah, I'd wake up early as I can, of course.
Mm-hmm.
And that's hard to do when you get older like this. But make a pot of coffee, take a pack. And I've done this a couple times. I've seen you guys did too. You got to bring a steak to the river.
You got to, man.
Cook a meal on the
Absolutely.
bank.
You got
There's
to.
nothing
That's right.
better.
I did see you do that the other day.
There's nothing better than that. Take a meal, go out on a small stream, and just, slow down a little bit. Life gets busy, it really does. And it's good to get out there and slow down. I like to go out there and pray and just look at everything, learn, and talk to God. Pray for fish mainly. No. But just go out there and enjoy it, and to find that peace that the busy world usually can't give you.
Mm-hmm.
And go out there, catch smallmouth, eat a good meal, drink some coffee, and just relax. That's a good day right there.
It is, man.
Yeah.
Just to slow down and take a second to listen to the rest of the world.
Yeah.
That is a good way to do it.
Yeah.
Best day on the water for you?
Best day, man. One day that stands out to me, and it's not even smallmouth. It's trout fishing with my buddy Monroe down at Taneycomo. You guys have probably been there for browns.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
We went one evening, and we were just laying into him. I mean, he caught I think it was a 28.5-inch brown trout.
Oh, man.
Massive.
That's a stud.
And I broke my PB, I believe, 3 times that day. One during the daylight, and I think it was like 20 inches. And then I broke it again. I got 23. And then I think the biggest I've got was 25 there. And, man, they're catching that whole area, even in Arkansas down by Cotter and all that stuff, the White River. There's some big trout out there.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people don't realize how big they can get. But, yeah, down there at Taneycomo that evening, that was probably one of my favorite times to go out, is to catch those browns and get to do it with one of my friends and just enjoy the day, and break some PBs. Break my PB 3 times.
Absolutely.
So
man.
that was awesome.
That's quite the day, man.
Yeah.
That's that reminds me a couple. I don't know, probably maybe 2 or 3 months ago. Kyle and I went out and we went night fishing for the first time.
Yeah.
On the White Below
It's
Bull
so
Shoals.
scary.
And you're just like, gosh,
It's rough, ain't it?
I'm glad that we're with a guy who knows the river like the back
Yeah.
of his hand, because we'd be out here bumping into every rock and log, just bumbling along. And it was the same. Like I don't know, it was really early into the night. I threw it out there.
Yeah.
Caught my personal best, like, I don't know, 10 minutes into it.
Oh,
I'm
that's
like,
awesome.
oh, man, that's awesome.
That
and then,
is
like,
awesome.
I don't know, an hour later, threw it out again. One of the, I guess we caught 2 fish that night, and that was the second one. And that was my personal best, too. It was like
Wow.
2. But
that's awesome.
I didn't get 3. I didn't get what you got there. So any day you can break a personal best is a dream.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love it. Well, cool. I think our fire has gone out.
I got the same bug in the mouth.
Man, he's ornery. He's trying to get 8 tonight. But Bobby, we appreciate you for having us up here. We appreciate you for sharing your place, your land, telling us the story about it, and giving a few tips to people who want to get out and maybe chase after some smallmouth, get in the creeks, wade fish a little bit.
Yeah.
There's really not many better ways to spend some time in the summer here in the Ozarks. So, again, just thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, thank you guys for coming down. It's awesome to meet you. We'll have to do some fishing sometime soon, too.
We will, man. We will.
Let me know when you want to hit the white out of a boat. I'll row you all day long.
So you have a boat.
I love rowing that boat.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun.
So you strictly fly fish?
No.
Or do you do it all?
But if we're gonna take that boat with the oars and all that stuff, fly fishing's where it's at.
Hey, I'm in. Yeah.
You're getting into it, man. You got the equipment now.
Yeah.
You're getting the know-how.
Yeah.
Next time we link up, you'll be ready.
Yeah, let me know.
Let's do it, man. Cool. All right, to our listeners, thank you guys for watching. Thank you for listening. If you guys enjoyed this episode, send it to a buddy. Send it to somebody you want to hit the creek with, and hopefully we see you out there. We'll see you on the next episode.